So we're going to take you through an endpoint assessment. If you can drop into the chat, anybody, I think Darren spoke to a few people prior to us coming on who was in the process or in the gateway to go to an endpoint assessment. So if that is you, or if you're an employer, you've got learners going through to that process, can you just drop again something into the chat and let us know where you are with endpoint assessments? That'd be brilliant. And here's the sort of the first three stages that we need to talk about, and this is for the community activator coach. So as you're probably aware, the first phase is your on program. So you are working through your tasks, working through your units, going through your reflective accounts, and Darren did a great session last week on reflective accounts and how to get those to distinction. So again, if you haven't seen that session, go back through to the YouTube channel and have a look at that. That's real helpful to get you through the process. And then once you've done your reflective accounts, you've got your PowerPoint ready, and you've submitted all of those, we then put you into what we call a gateway. And that gateway is a process where we get everything uploaded, all the paperwork done, and we then sit you down with the assessor, with your tutor, and with your employer to work out the best dates and how the process is going to work for your endpoint assessment. So it is a conference call that you'll be able to ask any further questions about and how the process works. So it's another great opportunity to get some more information. Have you any concerns, any further questions you might have? If you're not sure about the presentation or the questions or how it's going to be, the process is going to work, that is a really good opportunity to have those out. And I think a good tip would be, when you get to that process, just prior to it, maybe a day before, a few days before, just write down some thoughts you may have, some questions you may have for the day as well, so you come fully prepared, so you don't forget anything, because there'll be obviously a lot of people talking, there'll be dates and times to be sorted out. So the more information you can come to help you out at that point, obviously the better. Once that's all organised, you then enter your endpoint assessment, and we'll go through what that is going to look like now. So for the community activator role, you'll have a coaching observation, and you'll have to do a session plan, which is nothing different to what you've done before. And you'll be just observed how you deliver that coaching observation. What's your knowledge, skills and behaviours are like, how you are working with the children, how you're organising your knowledge within that sport, what it's set up like, looking at your health and safety. So it's something that you do on your daily basis. Don't see it as a panic mode and go, oh no, somebody's looking at me. See it as just, yeah, I'm doing my day job. And that's how you should see it. But again, plan well, as you usually do. Make sure your session plan is submitted early. Make sure that you are happy, run through your session if needs be. So you don't feel those nerves. You don't worry about what might be said or what they're looking at. So again, it's all about that good planning, making sure that you're comfortable before that coaching observation is done. Once that's done, you then into a presentation Q&A. So that presentation Q&A is, the presentation is about 10 minutes, and that's from the PowerPoint from one of your reflective accounts. So you'll be delivering a PowerPoint that you've already created, and again, hopefully you've gone through, you know what you need to say and do, and you've practiced it, and that's selected from one of your reflective accounts. So that's 10 minutes, and then you'll have a round about 20 to 30 minute Q&A session. So they'll be asking you questions, which again it will be set out. It could be anything around your job. Do you understand your role? What about safeguarding issues? How well do you understand that? Maybe issues about first aid as well. So it goes back to that prepping and planning. Don't just turn up on the day expecting to get it right there and then. The more you plan, the more you prepare for this coaching observation and presentation and the panel interview, the better you'll feel, and the outcome is going to be a lot more successful. So can't stress enough about that planning and preparation. And the tutors that you're working with, they'll be able to supply you with examples of presentations and panel interviews, examples of some of the questions that might happen, and examples of coaching session plans as well. So if you're not sure about anything and you want more help and support, just ask your tutor, and they'll be able to supply the relevant information and documents that you can work from. And obviously, your presentations, your coaching session plans, where they're done, submit them to your tutor, and just to make sure again that you haven't missed anything, that it meets the standard and requirements that they're looking for. So it's really important you engage with your tutor there to support you. Once that's all done, obviously there'll be a grading decision, and then obviously your final sign off. That decision, depending on time, depending on workloads, I think, Darren, if you want to jump in, is it usually sort of 2 to 4 weeks?
Yeah, it's about, yeah, you're right, Matt.
Yeah, it's about 2 to 4 weeks where you get those, and then you get your final sign off, and then you obviously come out of your apprenticeship. Any questions so far? Do you want to drop them in the chat box for Darren and myself about this process? Are we all good, Darren?
Yeah. There's no questions at the moment, mate, but I'll answer them if any comes in.
Brilliant stuff. So again, this just breaks this example of assessment timings down a bit further. You have 2 options, and again, it'd be through that conference call you have with your employer and with the assessor at Elite and with your tutor, which one is going to work best for you. So as you can see from option 1, it's all done in one day. You'll have your coaching observation, and then you'll have your presentation, Q&A and panel interview, which could be face-to-face, or again, as you put there, could be a remote assessment. And then option 2, we can break it into 2 days. So you can have your coaching observation on day 1, and then day 2 will be your presentation and your panel interview. So it's just breaking that up. And again, it's down to timings. It's down to what's best for you, obviously, with the school you're working in. All of those things need to be taken into consideration. But it does give you 2 really good options of how best you can do your endpoint assessment. This is probably quite hard to read, so I'm going to read some of these out for you, but like I say, it will be on the YouTube channel. So tasks, it breaks, what we've done and what Elite have done is broken down everything you need to do to get to your endpoint assessment. So task 1, your reflective accounts, demonstrating your different scenarios that you encounter on your day-to-day role. Task 2, reflect the typical duties and responsibilities of a community activator. Task 3, you're checking the knowledge, skills and behaviours assessed in task 3, the panel interview, including your evidence. Task 4, choose a minimum of 5, no more, of your reflective accounts. It does say 10 there. Obviously, we don't work on 10 reflective accounts, as you well know if you're already going through that process. But those reflective accounts, as task 5 says, have to be produced electronically. So again, it's demonstrating your ICT skills. It's a good way to show how well you can use ICT. And obviously embed any evidence as well within those reflective accounts. So pictures, session plans, any documents or forms or posters that you may be using, all add to the work that you're doing and to increase your pass to maybe a distinction. And also those reflective accounts have a maximum word count of 1,500. So it's 3 questions, 500 words per question. In those reflective accounts. Task 7, and again, it says quite clearly, use a variety of media, including written and other types of content, photos, any graphs you've got, anything that you might be able to use of the BMS system. any reports that you've done yourself. They're really good evidence to put into your reflective accounts and your presentation. I've had, since I joined in January, I've had reflective accounts that are handwritten and sent to me. And unfortunately, it doesn't always show how good people are at ICT. So if you can get them typed out electronically as they wish, then please do that. And the task 8 there, and again, reflecting back on Darren's work and session he did last week, just make sure those reflective accounts are thorough and contain the evidence. So again, pictures, graphs, documents, posters, leaflets, anything like that that supports your work is going to help. Make sure they're all signed off. That's really important as well. We've had documents that are coming in that they get sent back because they're not signed. So I know you want to get these reflective accounts through, and you want to get through your apprenticeship really quickly, but the more detail you put into this, the smoother the process will go. And that task 10, you're going to resubmit your reflective accounts to Elite at least 10 working days before your endpoint assessment. But obviously they will be marked by the tutor. You'll be supported to make sure those reflective accounts that are submitted are to the standard that is required. So now I'm going to show you a short video. If this is going to work on one of the presentations. It might be just a circle. Any questions regarding that short presentation?
Hello.
Yeah.
Just quickly, you said the presentation.
Yeah.
Did you say it would be in relation to your reflective account? Because obviously he was presenting something different. He was presenting based on an event that he ran.
Yeah, but that could have been from his reflective account.
Oh, as in he could have. Yeah, all right, fair enough. He could have spoken
about
that event,
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But it's good, and that's why obviously me and Darren are here to answer these questions. But yeah, he might have done that from one of his reflective accounts.
So it has to be from something from your reflective account. You can't just say that you've done this event and then.
Your presentation, it's as far as I'm aware, and Darren, if you want to jump in, it has to be from one of your reflective accounts, and if you think about it, it makes your life a lot easier. You just choose one of those that you've written, because then you don't have to create another piece of work.
Oh, right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adrian, you're right. In regarding the 6 templates to the level 2, and there's 8 templates to level 3. So once you've chose your 5, if you're doing the level 2, you've chose your 5. You've got an additional one, so you'll be presenting that one. And then same with the level 3, you've got 5 that you're choosing, which 7 and 8, which is first aid and safeguarding, need to be a part of your 5 that you've chosen. And then from the additional 3, you would choose which one you want to do the presentation on.
Yeah, it makes sense. Fair.
Yeah. Good stuff. I'm just going to show you another video as well. You know, this session is me and Dan, when we talked about it, is very much us going through the information on what an EPA is. So we wanted to break it up a little bit with just showing you some of the videos, so you can see what happens within the endpoint assessments as well. And these are from Elite, which is the services that we use for the endpoint assessment. So let's just stop that. So again, just another video there to show you what the coaching session observation would be. So is any questions regarding that coaching observation? So if you don't want to open up your mic, obviously just drop something in the chat box for Darren, and Darren can reply to that. But like I say, with that coaching observation, just be really clear, plan effectively, understand what you're going to deliver, make sure you cover all the requirements that they're looking for. And again, your tutor, ask your tutor. There's session plans and observations and what Elite are looking for. Those documents are available for you, are supported by your tutor as well. So that's the community activator coach. That's their process and what they need to go through to achieve a very successful endpoint assessment. We're now going to look at the community sport health officer role. So the 3-phase is exactly the same. I'll see you on programming.
Can I just, sorry mate, we've just had a couple of questions about the session in regarding both from Rebecca and from ADJ. They're asking about the planning sessions. Can there be curricular or extracurricular stuff?
That's a really good question, and I at the moment do not have the answer for that. Well, I can get back to them. I would suggest it would be curricular, mainly due to the fact that if you are in the school environment as well, and then you take option 1, you can do your presentation and then Q&A straight after, and that would be great timing for them. So I would push for curricular, but I will get that confirmed about the extracurricular as well for you. Does that answer the questions for them?
We'll wait and see.
Brilliant stuff. So yeah, this is the community sports health officer role. As I said, the 3 phases exactly the same as before. So you get onto your application, you start your program. Once you've completed those, you go into your gateway and then into your endpoint assessment. So the process is exactly the same as a community activator coach. The biggest difference that we have here is you have to do a case study challenge, which is the biggest difference between the two. So you still have that work-based observation, which we've gone through. You still have the presentation and the panel interview, but you'll have now a work-based case study. Then you'll have your grading, as we said before, 2 to 4 weeks, depending on workloads and requirements, and then your final sign-off. So these, again, are two options that you would have for when you book your endpoint assessment, and that process is exactly the same as a community activator coach. You'll sit down, have a conference call with the assessor, with your employer, with the tutor and yourself to decide best dates, decide what the process is, how it's going to run, how it will work, timings, etc. So any questions you've got, again, bring them to that meeting, that conference call, to make sure you understand what you're doing. Option 2, again, it can be split up into 2: work-based observation and your case study challenge on day 1, and then day 2, presentation and panel interview. And that presentation and panel interview, again, is exactly the same as it would be for the coach activator role. So the work-based observation with this one, from these, again, documents taken from Elite, is for an hour and a half. So the assessment must take place in apprentice's usual employment environment, so the school that you know, that you're comfortable with. There's no provisions made for the assessment. Activities should not be planned that are specifically for EPA. So again, just do one of your normal coaching sessions. As it says there, the assessor will observe the apprentice in the workplace. For example, helping to deliver a meeting to discuss a future sport program, presenting data to the employers, and helping to present research or funders for the purpose of funding. Okay, so that's your work-based observation. That's your study. And it will last about an hour and a half. So you could be organising or coordinating a meeting with the rest of your activity professionals or within your franchise. And that's absolutely fine. They're just looking at how well you work. Just another point on that one with that study challenge as well. With your study challenge, it's in a exam details. So you'll be given certain criteria to look at, and that could be anything from what you do in work, again, safeguarding, first aid, how you would deal with behaviour, and you have to then put those answers down. You won't have any supporting documents for that. You have to put those answers down in an exams type conditions. So yes, very much of a challenge with the community sports health officer role, but you are moving up to that extra level, and it will challenge you a lot more. But if you look at it again, when you get through to your EPA, your tutor will support you all the way through. You can look at how you're going to do a work-based assessment, think about your coaching assessment, think about your presentation and your Q&As. Get it all well planned prior to that day. If you do it well, you get the help from your tutor, again, you'll feel a lot more confident going into your endpoint assessment. Any questions on that for just the level 3? There's only I got to say, there's a couple of differences between that and your community activator coach, but they are really important add-ons to that level. Okay.
Adrian, can I just butt in?
Yeah.
Just on the question by Rebecca and Shannon on the actual coaching observation on the level 2, it can be curriculum, extracurriculum, it can be also camps. It depends on their diaries and when they're actually being observed and stuff.
Brilliant.
So yeah, it depends on when you actually, from the chat that you're having on the planning with Elite, when you actually can do it, what you're doing at the time, and that's what it will kind of like depend on. And just with Poppy, she's asked about the level 3 observation, is it curricular session in schools? Yep. On the level 3, Poppy, as we've discussed, it's more about you within your job. It's not a coaching session. It might be you running a meeting. It might be you actually doing roles and responsibilities within your job. So there's a big difference if you say it's not, as it says there, it's your work-based observation, not a coaching session.
Yeah.
Is that all right, Poppy? Can you just put a simple thumbs up if you say Just to, I mean, I'll speak to you later anyway, but yeah, it's more that you'll be doing it, an observation with, you might be running a meeting or whatever. So there's a big difference between the level 2 qualification and the level 3 in regarding that task.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks, Darren. Thanks for the questions. It really is important we get this all clarified for you, so you go into these endpoint assessments with a clear vision of what you need to do. We've got Hannah who's joined us, Hannah Edmonds, who's been through her EPA, or endpoint assessment, and we're going to ask her a few questions about the process. And if you have got any questions yourself, again, just drop them in the Dropbox, or if you want, open up the mic and let us know, and then you can ask Hannah any questions that you've got. So it's really good to, well, Hannah's online, to get a real life experience of what it was like to do. So Hannah, are you online?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Brilliant stuff. Thanks again, Hannah, for doing this. Just one question for me, and quite a general one. How was the journey to the endpoint assessment for you? How was it? Hard? Was it easy? Did you get the information that you required?
Once the reflective accounts were done and out of the way, then it was much easier to obviously focus on the presentation and the full day of the endpoint assessment, which was it was difficult. It was easy to do the reflective accounts, but for the endpoint assessment, that was like the main day that was tricky, because it was stressful a little bit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So Hannah, sorry, just with that, Anna. So you said it was stressful, but when you break it down into, obviously you said the reflective accounts was the easier part, but once you got to the EPA in relation to your coaching observation, your presentation, and then your interview, how did you find that in regarding how intrusive, if you say, were your assessors, or did they leave you alone? And and what kind of questions did they ask to support you at the end of each of the 3 sections?
With the reflective accounts, they were really good because you had loads of time to collect the right evidence and ask your tutor a load of questions, so you were prepared for them. And then the day of the endpoint assessment, the assessor that I had was absolutely lovely. They're so helpful, and as long as you've looked into the apprentice toolkit that they give you, so you're somewhat prepared for that day, and you know what.
And Anna, that was off your tutor, yes?
That was off of, yes, my tutor did supply that, as well as the assessor. Actually, they both
just
at the same time.
With that, everybody that's listening, in regarding, as Anna's just said, if you've not got to get a gateway at the moment, that you're working on your reflective accounts. Once you finish your reflective accounts and the gateway concept, you will be getting off your tutors in regarding some evidence, as Adrian spoke about earlier, and then the tutors still will work and give you some guidance until you actually go into the EPA process. Is that fair, Anna?
Yeah. The apprentice toolkit really helps. It gives you a lesson plan that you're required to fill out on the day of EPA. And what I did personally, I filled out like a practice lesson plan, so I knew exactly what I was already going to write. For when it came to the day, she was watching me type out my lesson plan, and I already knew what I was going to write, so that helped a lot.
So you're actually you're not allowed to take a session plan in. You've got an hour to kind of like do your session plan, but you know what topic you're doing, and you just then fill the lesson plan in, and then you deliver that lesson plan within the session. So it's an hour planning it, and then there's kind of like an hour to deliver it with a Q&A. Is that fair?
Yeah, you get an hour to plan, and then you get a maximum of 45 minutes to deliver.
Yeah.
And then I think you have about 15 minutes reflection time, and then on to the presentation, I believe. But she gave me plenty of time. She was constantly asking me if I'm all right or whether I need a second just to collect my thoughts. And she was very good. All questions helped me with the reflection of the session that I've just done. She's very good at little prompts here and there to get you thinking.
Good. No, that's good. So regarding the presentation, so you obviously having a look at your reflective accounts and your PowerPoint, you're very thorough in regard and showed that you give given time within them, but you obviously your PowerPoint presentation was one of your reflective accounts, yeah?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And how much time did you take to do your PowerPoint, like to really get it up to the standard of what?
I probably spent over the period of a week. So I asked my tutor to give me a rough outline of what I should base each slide on to ensure that I had just a rough structure to go by. And once I'd done that, it became a lot easier to, because I'd already done the reflective account on it. So I already had most of the information already.
Right.
So about a week it took me to do the presentation to get all the evidence, most of which I already had from the reflective account.
Right. Okay. So throughout, so you did your coaching observations, so you did it all in the day. What regarding, like obviously we keep, as tutors, we keep talking about the standards. We keep talking about your knowledge, skills and behaviours. Was that a massive emphasis on the day that your tutor tried to get you to keep talking about?
Can you say that again?
No, so like obviously when you were going through your on the program, obviously you were talking about your standards, which were knowledge, skills, and behaviours.
Oh yes.
Yes. What when you were doing your panel interview, when you were doing your presentation, did they keep emphasising that, and you kept alluding to how you implemented them?
I'll refer back to the apprentice toolkit for that. Because they gave practice questions in that, and when it came to the panel interview, they pretty much gave me the same questions that I'd already knew about. I already had seen them because that's what was in the toolkit. And they also in the toolkit give you all of the knowledge, skills, and behaviours that they're looking to ask you about, so basically what to say, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So in principle, throughout the process of you're on the program, gateway up to the PPA, you thoroughly got supported by your tutors, the elite training, and then when you got to the EPA side of it, your tutors were very supporting from elite training services, as well as you've been given the value of your toolkit to support you to pass this qualification. Is that right?
Yes, I can. I was told on numerous occasions by my tutor was Nick Preston from Train with Premier.
Yeah.
And he was brilliant and constantly reminded me that I can phone him at any time to ask questions. And I had his phone number, had his email, so he was always there at the other end of a phone and to answer questions as soon as possible.
Right. Okay. So hopefully from just what Adrian and myself wanted to do was get an actual real life, if you say, learner that's actually gone through the process. So I'm going to open it up to the floor really. Is anybody want to take the mics off and ask any questions to Anna about obviously the stuff that maybe that we haven't said, or whether you want to put anything in the chat to ask Anna? But I think what Hannah's obviously explained is that she, in no uncertain term, enjoyed the time. Obviously, it was challenging, but she got full support throughout the on the program, gateway, and EPA process. Is that right?
Yeah. What I oh, go on.
Sorry, I want to talk about questions. I've got one from Rebecca, which she's put into the chat. Did you know what you was delivering, and did you plan what you was delivering before you had to do the 1 hour session plan?
Yes. So as I said, when you get sent your apprenticeship toolkit, they have a lesson plan on that, and it would be certainly beneficial to familiarize yourself with that plan, so you know exactly what they're looking to see in that plan. They also give you an example plan, so I referred a lot to that, so that I knew roughly what all the information that they were requiring.
Brilliant. But on that one then, did you already know what your practical session was going to be? So you already knew what you were going to write in there? Yeah,
within my school, I had already regularly been delivering those PE lessons. And so I was concentrating on one PE lesson, and I knew that it was going to be tennis this term, and it was their third lesson. So I knew what I was going to be teaching them, because I had been teaching them for a little while.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Hannah. Rebecca, I hope that answers your question. If it does, could you just put a thumbs up or a sign in the chat box, or your mic? Thanks for that, Hannah. That's brilliant.
It's okay, I'm here. Sorry. So that you're saying that you had an hour to prepare for it before. Was you not delivering before that hour? So it's literally like just walking into a normal.
So So my EPA was on the Tuesday. So at the weekend, I'd looked through the lesson plan, and I'd done a practice one, so I know exactly what I was already going to write. I organised for the lady to come at 8:30 in the morning, because I had a before school club anyway, so I was already in the school. She then came in, and I had an hour to write out that plan in front of her, which I did in the staff room. Do make sure, one thing I will say to all apprentices, make sure that the Wi-Fi in the school you have got access to, or wherever you are doing it, because this is what a problem was for me, because I was at a village school and the Wi-Fi was not good enough. Anyway, going back to that, yes, I had an hour to write out the lesson plan, which I did so on a laptop, but you can print it out and then write it out on paper. And then I went on to deliver my session, which is a maximum of 45 minutes.
What happens if you don't have that time to write it out before? Because like personally for me, I teach back to back from 9 till 3. I don't have an hour spare to write out that lesson plan.
I was lucky enough, so there's 2 PE lessons in that morning that I would usually teach, but I'm lucky enough that there was another member of staff that works for Premier that could take one of them whilst I did my planning, and then I delivered the next one, which was my planned session. You would have to talk with your company to make sure it is possible for you to do that, because that's what they should be doing.
No, I appreciate that, Anna, because just as the tutor side, we would be, when you're doing the planner, Rebecca, that you would be in communication with your line manager or employers to basically say, right, this is when I'm planning it. Obviously, if you've got 3 or 4 sessions in the morning, obviously this is the process. Can you support me by maybe getting another tutor to come and support me in that they're delivering the session while I'm doing the hour planning my lesson plan? Or so it's just a communication to have with your employers, employers, and also that will be governed by Elite because they'll be talking to your employers as well.
That helps.
Okay, thank you.
No problem at all. It's really good questions as well, and I hope that helps other people who might be thinking about that process.
But from my point of view, and I'm sure Adrian, we're going to say exactly the same. Anna, we really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, we do, Anna. Thanks ever so much.
And really adding value, because obviously about the Wi-Fi and simple stuff like that, we wouldn't have mentioned that because, like we've not gone through this situation. So thanks again, and it takes a lot of guts, I suppose, to get on the other end of the line and answer these questions. So thank you again.
No worries.
Appreciate that.
I'm just going to put in the chat the exact order of what I did on the day of EPA, just so anyone can have a look at it.
You are a star, Anna. Thanks for that.
So just because we are coming to end of time and stuff, would like to thank everybody. Thank you, Adrian, for doing the presentation and stuff. But thank you for everybody who's obviously been on the call, and I hope it's been very beneficial from the presentation as well as what added value Anna supported on there. So so thank you again.
Hi, Darren, it's Andy here. I just want to second that. I thought that was an absolute brilliant session. So Anna, absolutely quality. I think this is something we definitely need to save and share with all our apprentices and our employers. Because it can be, as Anna's alluded to, and some of the questions coming through, it can be definitely a bit of a nervous. I think any time when you're being assessed at anything is always a nervous time, regardless of what it is. So this has been really, really, really impactful.
Andy.
Great work for everybody for pulling this together and the transparency with it. I think it's been really beneficial.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate that. Right, we're going to log off because there'll be other people waiting to guide through another successful session. And Hannah, again, thanks for everything you've done. It's been absolutely brilliant. Darren and everybody else, have a very safe day.